Let's see, for tonight, our first up incoming lovely lady is Pearl. All right, so Pearl Gregor is an explorer and a seeker. She is a writer, dream coach, storyteller, writing coach, author of 3 books in the series Dreams Along the Way, an international public speaker. Pearl is a farmer, grandmother, and a blogger, and a crone of wisdom. Pearl experienced years of personal turmoil beginning at the age of 9. Nothing but nothing worked. Then at the age of 43, she discovered meditation, and in December 1988, learned that she could ask for a dream. That first dream unleashed an avalanche of change. Like the myth of the goddess Inanna, Pearl lived the descent into the underworld. Dreams, prayer, meditation, reading, and journaling led her through that long and intense 7-year journey to heal her shredded feminine soul. You're invited to join Pearl to explore the deep mysteries of dreams, psyche, and soul. And you can also read her books or join her in her latest passion, a Dream Writers Myth Circle, where they explore dreams and her book. Welcome, Pearl. I am so excited to have you here and just to hear all of your wisdom.
Thank you very much, Sam. Good evening, everyone. Wisdom is an interesting word. We'll just put it over to the side, and you can decide if there's wisdom in this by the end of the conversation. My story begins, the beginning of the story, I'm 9 years old, and I have screaming nightmares night after night. That continues, not every night, but till the age of 43. My husband came to understand what was going on, and he clearly had no idea how to help. In desperation, as Sam told you, I turned to meditation. That ended up by February of 1989, which is not very long, April 88 to February 1989, when I had what I insist on calling a miracle, a series of miracles. And that the dreams, the very first dream I had was a dream that I came to understand was a descent dream, the descent to Inanna. People talk about the descent as though it's a simple thing. It isn't a simple thing, let me tell you that. It took a long time. That descent took me through 7 years. There was a point in time, and you read in my 3rd book, where I am stripped and hung from a peg in my dreams. Now, that is, when you read the goddess literature, that is very much what happened with Inanna. And so, I mean, the first dream I had was that I didn't understand it. So do not be surprised if you dream, and it takes a long time to understand it. That's why I say set your intentions and journal, journal, journal. I was telling Sam before we started, the notion of journaling is a very powerful healing tool in and of itself. But when you can combine it with meditation, with dreaming, and addicted reading. I mean, I recognize Nancy from a dream circle, and I know Nancy's an addicted reader herself. And you write down in your journal, first of all, I intend to have a dream tonight. That's where you start. And then that first dream is often what we call an initiatory dream. And it sets the stage for what is to come. And so when I look at my dream, that was definitely an initiatory dream. And I can read it to you from my book, but I think I can tell it to you as well. In my dream, I am on the 7th floor of the Hardy Court building, and my actual office was on the 8th floor. So the first question to ask yourself, now that I know all this stuff, is how come the dream picked the 7th floor? So if I'm teaching a dream circle, that's the question I would ask them. Why did the dream pick the 7th floor? Well, you start researching 7, and you find 7 brides for 7 brothers, you find 7 divorces, you find 7-story mountains, you find 7 deadly sins, and 7 this and 7 that and 7 the other thing. And it is a sacred number in numerology. So the dream didn't say we're on the 8th floor, it said the 7th floor. Truth is, I was on the 8th. Dreams are not literate. They're not literate, not, that's the wrong word. Whoa, whoa, whoa. They are not literal, not literal. They are metaphoric. So the 7th floor, and I go into an elevator and the elevator begins to fall. Well, every dream every nightmare I ever had, I was falling. I fell out of airplanes. I fell off of mountains. I fell over cliffs. I fell and I fell and I fell and I screamed. And I screamed. And you've ever had the dream where you're paralyzed? Well, most times I was paralyzed. So that dream, the elevator is filled with strange women. First thing you learn about dreams is those are all parts of you. Now, we don't like that very much because some really weird characters show up in our dreams and we don't want them to be part of us. But we only know 5% of our own inner psyche. Think about that. You're making decisions with 5% of your own consciousness. Well, there's a lot of this stuff coming from the collective unconscious, or in my case, for that first dream, the collective unconscious and a little bit of the personal unconscious because of the falling I had done in dreams. So now the elevator begins to fall, and it falls and it falls and it falls, and the women scream, and they scream. And I say, Jesus, make it safe, over and over again. Who is your wisdom figure? In my case, it was Jesus. For many other people, it's the Buddha, or it's a particular saint in their lives, or it's a wise person they met along the way, Thomas Merton, or any wise person that you have read about, a Meister Eckhart, or think of some wise person that you know. So that's my prayer, is going, make it safe, make it safe. Then the elevator lands, and it lands in lamb's wool or chicken feathers. I was never been sure, but one or the other. It's a very soft and gentle landing. So think about that. Think about a gentle landing, screaming and a gentle landing, falling and a gentle landing. So what do you think the dream is predicting? What is the dream telling me over a very long period of time? When I was all finished my books, or the first book anyway, one of my girlfriends said, how did you keep doing this, Pearl? It was so absolutely intensely scary. How did you just keep going? I said, remember that first dream that said I would land in lamb's wool? For some reason, I just trusted I would land in lamb's wool. And so I did eventually land in lamb's wool, but there were several incidents along the way that, so January 2nd, for example, I went off to a goal setting workshop with a girlfriend again, and some people I didn't know. There was a strange man there. I've never seen him again. And he said, Pearl isn't letting this be said, so I'm going to say it for her. There's a field of sunflowers, a vision of sunflowers, a river, and a river of silver coins. And a voice that said, in my world, now I'm hearing the voices, the endurance run is over. I had no idea what that meant. But when I think back, I was 43 years old, and the endurance run was ending. By February, I was doing meditation with 2 friends, and the whole story came pouring out. I had been molested as a preverbal child. So that's what gets repressed into your personal unconscious. That memory came forward, and the man's face came forward, and I went to see that man later, or actually ran into him incidentally, and he did not remember who I was. So you think about that. I was given the gift of forgiveness that evening and compassion. And I spend my life with dream work, with the notion of compassion, and hope that everyone can learn about forgiveness, which is not putting it behind you. Behind you, it doesn't help you. Forgiveness means it's a heart thing. It's not, oh yes, I forgive you. It's not a Saturday morning conversation. It's a deep, deep. My energy was so incredible that night. My body turned the color of my sweater. I mean, my girlfriend is saying, or I'm mumbling to myself, that poor man, that poor man. And my girlfriend is, I'll kill him. I said, no, no, he had no idea. This was our solo contract. And I think Jessica will understand what I'm talking about. We had this solo contract that I would agree to this to happen, and he would agree because he needed forgiveness for other lifetimes. And I agreed to do it. You think, well, how the hell do you do that? In our culture, we do not do that. We believe in vengeance. You know, he's a sinner, he's going to hell. Well, actually, no, it's not how it works. So journaling, back to the dreams and journaling, I wrote, I think by the time I wrote my book, so I was on my 22nd journal.
Wow. Pearl, can I ask you a quick question, actually,
Yeah.
before I forget? So you had mentioned to set your intention to dream.
Yes.
What happens when you set your intention, but you still don't dream?
You said it again.
So you just keep setting the intention.
Yes, because you are resistant. Remember, ego does not like change. So we have this massive ego control. And it takes a while for to give over. I was so damn desperate that I don't think my ego had a chance, to tell you the truth. I only did it once and I got the dream. I was astonished when I woke up, because your energy goes, with a dream like that, my energy went right through the roof. And you get up in the morning, I was kind of used to, I don't know what the word would be, but kind of, well, the way I read it in my book is, in the morning, I would get up, put my mask on and go to work. Often I puked in the toilet before I went to work. Depression is no fun, folks. It's no freaking fun at all. And real depression is not, I feel blue today. Depression hurts your body. That's why it takes 7 years. My body had shut down a couple of times. My husband would literally, I'm a little heavier than I was back then. He would pick me up and take me off to the doctor's office. I found a great kinesiologist who knew all kinds of things that helped a lot. I had psychiatrists because I was hearing voices. I saw my first psychologist at 19. And you see the ads about depression. Depression hurts. So to answer your question, Sam, I think you keep setting your intention. And remember, a little tiny fragment is all we need to begin. If I begin to pull on this, unravel a thread off my sweater, I can unravel the whole sweater. So if you get the tiniest fragment, and I see Lucille in the audience, and Lucille would tell you a story about a screen door that showed up in her dream. And you know, what would you do with a screen door? You know, it's one little tiny fragment. And yet that became an incredibly important symbol. So
I love that. And I mean, what I'm fascinated by is something that I guess I never thought of, because I don't often remember my dreams, is when you do, you really look at and analyze what is actually being presented in your dream. I never thought to do that, really.
I don't like the word analysis, because analysis means we think we're actually going to understand it.
True.
The hermeneutic approach, and I see Teresa smiling, because yeah, it takes well, that's why we do dream circle groups, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We understand it way better when each person puts a piece in the pot. And you think, well, maybe it means this, well, maybe it means that. And the dreamer gets the final say, not the expert or the so-called expert, because you know the definition of experts. Nobody's an expert on your dream except you. And it's a myth. We talked for a bit before we started about the myth of Lilith. It's not, I mean, over the years now, over 35 years, I've come to understand a lot more about mythology. I knew nothing of mythology. I mean, we have the Egyptian mythology, the goddess Isis. We have Christian mythology, Jesus. We have many, many, many different mythologies. We have Buddhist mythology and Vedic mythology, and all of those pieces can show up from the collective unconscious. Remember, it's more than we know. For example, I had a dream one night after a hand washing ritual with a bunch of women about the Eleusinian mysteries. Now, Sam, Michelle, Jessica, what do you know about the Eleusinian mysteries?
I don't know much or at all.
Much at all. Well, neither did I. I didn't even know how to spell it. So, I mean, seriously. So you ask yourself, well, where did that come from? That's what I mean by the collective unconscious. When I went looking, it is ancient women's blood mysteries. It's birth, death, rebirth. It is a creation. It's a creation myth. And it actually was a 9-day ritual that men, women, and children participated in as long as they hadn't murdered anybody. I'm not sure what that rule was about, but that was the rule. And the Eleusinian mysteries, when I woke up from that dream, I was thinking to myself, I am for the very first time in my life glad I am woman. That goes back to that lamb's wool and landing in lamb's wool. My menstrual cycle went normal for the first time in my life after that healing. That's pretty powerful stuff when your body changes because of dreams and the work that I was doing. So I say, ask for a dream, tell yourself, I will remember a dream tonight. Then write it down the minute your feet hit the floor. And then think metaphor, 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 symbol, symbol, symbol. Any questions? I don't know what time we're at here, but
no, we're good. We're wrapping up pretty soon. I love that. That is some really powerful stuff. I'm definitely gonna keep the intention to keep going and actually look a little bit more closely at the dreams that I do remember.
right.
And then you also have you were gifting people as well. Tell me about what you're gifting people.
A 30-minute consultation. Just subscribe to my website. I promise you will not be run over by a thousand emails or anything else. You might get sometimes 3 a year. I mean, I advertise my dream circles whenever we start a new series, a new one. I advertise when I do something like this. It's various. Sometimes I write stories and put those together and advertise that. And I see someone in the chat asking about my dreams or my books. I'm sorry. Can we put that up in the chat?
Yeah, I'm gonna be putting as much as I can on there.
And there's 3 books. One is called I, the Woman Planted the Tree, which is an Inanna story, an Inanna title. The other is called Authoring Self, because this kind of deep work requires you to rewrite who you are. Because we've heard lots of times in this holistic earth around our authentic selves. Well, that's who we're searching for, is our authentic self. Sometimes you've got layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of ego self that you have to get through. And so, you know, I could go on forever, but the third book is called Cauldron of the Feminine, and that just would not go away. The second one I created the cover myself. And this cover is out of an experience I had in my yard with the Mugo pine. When the Mugo pine lit up and turned blue, lit the whole yard. And that was another experience. So we are powerful beings. We are very powerful beings. We just don't know it.
I love that.
And we're very much afraid of our own power. Trust me, I know. Because most of us are very tapping into our power. Very tapping. So any other questions before I say goodnight? Thank you very much. So time to move on, I'm thinking.
And I put the information, how to contact Pearl, For her 30-minute information is her website, and then the books are also listed there as well if you want to connect with Pearl.
Mhm.
Can I
Wonderful.
say something?
Sure, go ahead, Lucille.
I just want to say for anyone who doesn't know Pearl, if you want a gift, spend time with Pearl. She is a pretty powerful mover and shaker. And I know that because I sat in her living room and enjoyed the power of her circles.
And Lucille will tell you that this dream work thing is a lot of hard work, and so will Nell.
Mhm.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No.
It really isn't.
Mhm.
Thank you, Lucille.
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's true.
And then Michelle wants to know, where are you located, Pearl?
I live on my farm up by New Sarepta, about 25 minutes from Edmonton.
Okay.
I do have, now that COVID is over, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. I mean, people can come to the house.
Mhm.
Yeah, I am planning a workshop. I was asked a week ago if I would have a workshop in the spring.
Mm.
And so in April, I am planning a hands-on workshop at me in my home, in my sunroom.
Mm.
This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece of property that they're going to have to carry me out in a red urn. It's on my kitchen counter. It's a canister, you know, you put brown sugar in it or something. So I've told the kids that's how I'm leaving the farm. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Pearl. I enjoyed learning all about your stories, and I can't wait to learn more in those books.
and hopefully you all have a dream tonight.
That's my intention. I am putting that intention out there, Pearl.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pearl.
Thank